Great to see you again, Tim.
Jonathan, it's wonderful to be with you. And speaking of style, you're not doing so bad yourself.
We should get. Can I get this on my resume? It's like a stamp of approval. Thank you, Tim. So, were you involved with Project Runway from the very start?
I was involved from its very inception, yes. Initially as a consultant.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, when I first became involved with the show, my role in the show was in no one's vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
And it really evolved. And I think out of a fear that the producers shared that Heidi Klum would deliver the challenge, the designers would go into the workroom, the design work would come back onto the runway on models, and no one would speak.
Mm-hmm.
So by sending me into the workroom to probe and to query, you knew that there would be some dialogue.
Now, did you create the role, or did our buddy Desiree Gruber say, "Hey, Tim"? You...
Well, the producers, including Desiree, asked me whether I would be interested in this role, and my first response was, "Do I have to live with the designers?" And when I learned that I didn't, it was a huge relief. And then, but of course, then it was an issue of B-roll for Bravo and various other things.
Mm-hmm.
And I will also share with you, though, the entire time that we were taping season 1, I never dreamed I'd actually be in the show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I knew that I was being taped, but I thought as long as the producers have me speaking, no one needs to hear my voice, and no one needs to see me.
So I mean, I've watched the show, and one of my favorite things of the show is when you walk into the room and you say, "Designers." I mean,
Designers.
if you didn't speak, I mean, there would be a big hole in the show.
Well, it's a hole no one would even know about, though. So, I mean, that's why no one's more surprised by the success of the show than I am.
So, well, I was going to ask, did you think it would be so successful?
Never. I mean, I thought, taping season 1, I thought, well, this will be good cocktail party talk, and we'll move on to something else. I never dreamed that it would be a success at all.
Mm-hmm. And so this is the 7th season.
Yes.
And have the designers gotten better as the seasons have progressed?
Most definitely, and I know precisely why. Designers see this. Well, designers who have limited exposure at the moment see the show as a great public relations vehicle for their brand.
Mm-hmm.
So they really want to come on, show the world what they can do, and hopefully get some financial backing and support out of this.
So, and these are folks who come from all over the country. It's just not, hipsters from 7th Avenue.
No, all over the country.
Now, what's happened with some of the winners? What have they gone on to do?
I have to tell you, Jonathan, the success of each of the designers on the show is in direct correlation to their resources and their ambitions. I want to cite Chloe Dow, for instance, who's in Houston, Texas. She won season 2. And Chloe debated with herself, should I move to New York? Should I make this brand bigger? How ambitious do I really want to be? She loves her life in Houston. Her family's there. Her life is there.
Mm-hmm.
And she has created a larger brand in Houston, and her trips to the East Coast involve QVC and the product that she's doing for QVC. So she's enjoying a huge amount of success. Is she at Macy's or Saks Fifth Avenue or Nordstrom or Neiman's? No, maybe but it's not that she even wants to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, so we could talk the entire time about Project Runway.
We could,
but you've got a book. Well, actually, you have two books. And before we went on, we talked about the current book, a guide to quality, taste, and style.
Yes.
I'm sorry, it's Tim Gunn.
Well, no,
Guide
please.
to Quality, Taste, and Style. And then there's Gunn's Golden Rules,
which is coming out in September.
Right. Now, you said that. Well, why don't you talk about the difference between writing quality taste and style, and Gunn's Golden Rules?
Well, Jonathan, I have to tell you, I mean, I write all the time, and I love writing, and I have such huge respect for the English language. Well, all languages, but at least English is my own. And I write a lot. And when I was presented with the task of writing a Guide to Quality, Taste, and Style by Abrams Imprint, I was enthusiastic when I launched out writing, and with each successive day and week and month, it became more difficult to task, and I felt like I was close to a psychotic breakdown.
But why? Well, why?
Well, I have to tell you, I really struggled with the content of the book, and I'm sure there are people who are listening thinking, God, it was a fashion book. What kind of struggle could there be? Well, the struggle was that this book steps up and away from similar kinds of books that are about self-help or makeovers, because I'm not someone who offers up prescriptions. I'm not a fashion Svengali. I'm much more of a fashion therapist. So I struggled with how to put it all together, and in the end decided it has to be about the reader. It has to be personalized, really, for that reader, so that anyone picking up the book, and you and I talked about men as well. I mean,
Right.
There's information in the book that's just as valuable for men. Is it largely about women? Yes. But it's a matter of being able to project yourself into it and get information out of it.
Well, talk about three sort of rules that come out of this book that, as you said, they're gender neutral.
Well, know who you are and how you want to present yourself to the world, because it's the semiotics of fashion. The clothes we wear send a message about how the world perceives us, like it or not. So how do you want the world to perceive you? And how accurately or how well are you portraying that person?
Are you Mame Dennis or are you Agnes Gooch?
Exactly.
But why should someone view that as important? Because a lot of people will look at this and say, "Oh, it's just a fashion book. I'm not a fashion person, so why is this even relevant to me?"
I have to tell you, Jonathan, it doesn't. One can say that. My message is, another rule is, accept responsibility for how you present yourself to the world. If you want to present yourself to the world as an unmade bed, just accept responsibility for it. Don't play a victim. Don't do that at all. And I really believe in that. That's why when I had the Bravo show, Tim Gunn's Guide to Style, it was not an intervention. These women self-declared that they were in a fashion rut and they needed help. And I put them through, along with my co-host, initially Veronica Webb, and then the absolutely divine Greta Monahan. We gave them information. We gave them knowledge that was about them specifically. Each show had very different content. So people would ask, well, how would you feel if they reverted back to who they were before? I'd be fine about it. I'm very matter-of-fact about that, because they know better. So they know what they can do. They know that they can do it on their own because they did it on the show. So it's a decision that they make. Accept responsibility for how you present yourself to the world.
Now, okay, so if you want to present yourself as an unmade bed, that's on you. But what happens should someone tone it down?
Well, it depends on who you are. I mean, it really does. People frequently show me photographs of how people are dressing and ask me to critique it, and I respond by asking questions. I always have a Socratic approach to almost everything. Who is this person? What do they do? Because if the person's dressed like a circus clown, maybe they are. You don't know.
I know. It's fantastic.